Hello, my name is Cephalopod, and welcome to a new type of LOR content. We're going to go prio by prio through a game that happened on stream. Some very interesting positions arise, and I'm trying not to waste your time, so we're going to do this one, a very sped up review of the game. So let's get right into it. This is a Katarina Twisted Fate versus Winding Light deck. We're going to Han this match, and this is a 60% favored matchup for the Katarina TF on the stats. This one, let's take a look at what you might expect in this matchup in general before we get into the specific game. And we can throw a camera on it, why not? I'm covering a little bit of the text, hold on. Basically, the Aphelios PZ is going to try and kill you. They're definitely the aggressor in the matchup. They're going to try and get a bit of chip damage in the early game. They're going to try and chunk you down 12-15 damage with the Winding Light turn. If they can manage a 4-wide Winding Light, they're doing a pretty good job of it. Katarina TF, on the other hand, they're going to try and cut down the Winding Light turn as much as they're able. This is going to be all about the board size of the Aphelios player, whether they can maintain a board size, whether they can threaten damage effectively. So let's take a look at the starting hand. This is the mulligan we were faced with. We're on evens this game, and if you want to try this out for yourself, it's a good thing to practice if you're trying to learn from this. Pause the video and try and figure out the mulligan yourself. And what would you take here? So we're getting necessarily the things to think about are the turn 7 is the Winding Light turn, right? There's no like turn 6 Winding Light. They're on odds. So we got to think about what does the early game look like? What are we going to need to defend ourselves against? That's going to be 1 HP units and sometimes a goat for 1 and 2 health units in the early game, like a lot of them. And then we're going to have to kind of like deal with a couple of bigger threats, maybe a Victor, maybe an Aphelios, and then finally the Winding Light turn comes down and we got to defend ourselves against that. So those are the three like kind of phases of the game where there's like the 1 HP units, there's the champions, and there's the Winding Light. So those are like the 3 stages. And then if we can defend ourselves against all 3 of those, we're going to be just fine. The mulligan I chose to take in this game is simply kicking Death's Hand, Make It Rain, and Katarina can shore up the early game, and the Arachnid Sentry is great for later on to the match. Round 1. They took a full keep. So we're on a 3 keep, and they took a full keep. So they passed turn 1. The game is over here. The game is over on turn 1 because the reason being is we know every single card in their hand now. We know verbatim what the entire hand is. Because if they 4-kept and they don't have a 1-drop, we know for a fact they have a 2-drop, and we know for a fact they have a Victor. We know for like 95% they have an Aphelios, and like most of the time they're going to have a Winding Light in this hand as well. So the fact that we know their entire hand is going to be very detrimental because we can line up our removal very efficiently into what they've got. Because I kind of skipped ahead here. When they 4-keep and they don't have a 1-drop, their hand, the range of cards that could possibly be in their hand is very, very slim. So even though their hand is very good, they have a 2-drop, they have Aphelios, they have a Victor. We know all of that, which makes it a bad hand. It literally turns a great hand into a bad hand because we know exactly what's going on. So we know what's going on, but what's not going on is equally important, right? So typically, Aphelios Winding Light decks, they can burn you out from like 7 or 8 health. In this case, they're only going to really be able to burn us out from maybe 4 or 5. Maybe we can go lower on our health this game, and also they have a lot less threat of Pale Cascade because they're not really going to keep Mystic Shot and Pale Cascade in these kinds of scenarios. So we know that those 4 cards aren't going to be that. So let's just get into the match. Turn 2. We pass and boom, ba boom. We're not going to remove it right away, of course, because this is like, you know, gives Make It Rain more value. And of course, if they have like a double boom, ba boom hand, we're going to want to use that Make It Rain to, we're going to want to use the Make It Rain for value. And of course, the opponent, knowing that we've Make It Rain, goes ahead and open attacks on turn 3. And this is a key scenario in the match because it's a position that occurs very often. It's one of the main lines. Boom, boom, boom on 2, open attack on 3. Into pass from Cat TF. This is one of the main lines, and this is a position where most players are going to mess it up. This is one where I have yet to see another player play the correct line here. And go ahead and pause the video for yourself. I'll give you maybe 5 seconds, and we'll put some hints on the screen, and we'll talk about this position because this is really interesting. A tactical idea in this position, and essentially the main idea is, we don't want to spare any expense. We don't want to make any compromises when it comes to defending the Winding Light turn. We don't want to like inhibit our own ability to defend the Winding Light in the future. So the 4 lines that are possible are Blade's Edge, Death's Hand, Make It Rain, and Pass. We can take the damage here, even though we have 3 different ways to remove the Boom Baboon. And we got one last shot to do it. The right line here, the one that I really think is the right line, is pass and then play Katarina, Blade's Edge, the Boom Baboon, because the hand we expect them to have is like some sort of Felios / second 2-drop type of hand, and they're trying to play around and make it rain, right? And using Katarina, it puts so much pressure on them. We use the Katarina as Blade's Edge, and then we look towards open attack with the Katarina on 4. Maybe play the Katarina if they Mystic Shot her, but they're likely not going to have a Mystic Shot, or if they do, it's got to be on the top 2 cards of their deck. And from this position, it's really favorable. And this saving the Blade's Edge, like, for instance, Blade's Edge and then pass with our 5 mana is like the natural line, the one that you might like, the one that makes the most sense, right? It's because 1 damage, remove the Boom Boom, sure. That's actually a losing line. That is really, really bad. And I'll explain more as we go later on to the match. But here, we'll just continue. The Katarina comes down, removes the Boom Boon, and then they just show us, yes, they did actually have more development this turn. They just withheld it because they didn't want to get Mega Rained. Zonite Urchin comes down on the Boom Boon, and we play on. Katarina attacks on turn 2. This is something that you might also, blink at, because Katarina, we've got these Death Lotuses. However, what is our play, right? The alternative is actually really, really weak. The alternative is simply using this like draw spell. It's really, the alternative is really not very powerful compared to what this is, and getting chip damage in the early game is worthwhile. Even though they're the aggressor in the matchup, we can still press their HP, and we'll use that HP press not to kill them, but to remove their units. And you'll see that later in the game, their low HP forces them into lines that include more blocks than they would normally want to. They're going to go Get Excited away a Winding Light, which is very telling. And it's very telling for multiple reasons, right? It's this Get Excited, we know it came from the, we know they didn't keep it in their mulligan, that'd be crazy. And we know also there wasn't a better target to discard, so anything that would be a better target to discard than a Winding Light is gone. But if you think about that statement for 1 second, you would realize that, wait a minute, Winding Light is like one of the best cards in their deck. Why would they discard a Winding Light? Answer is second Winding Light. They have a second Winding Light in their hand at 1,000,000%. They use that Nightfall and proc to grab an Aphelios, and from this position, we have a choice to make, because we want to kill this Aphelios, and we want to do it in the most efficient way possible. Again, so in this position, play Make It Rain, hit the Aphelios. Luckily, 75%. If we didn't hit the Aphelios, we would have to, spend a bit more. But this is a really efficient way to do it, because almost none of the, even though the Make It Rain was random there, almost none of the outcomes were bad for us. They were almost all good for us, and even the bad ones weren't like a game-losingly bad. Remove the Aphelios, and suddenly we're left with a position where they're out of mana, we're out of mana, and they have no attack. We took that 3 extra damage, but we're feeling super secure in the position. So they open up with a Crescendum into a Victor, and here they low rolled the Crescendum into a 0 attack unit. We've got to remove this Victor before the keyword comes down. So of course, this is going to be Katarina plus Disintegrate. Super powerful, because we're going to pull ahead on board here. Katarina, and we knew this Victor existed, right? From the outset, we knew they kept this Victor in their hand. We're going to kill it, and then open attack on turn 6. So this time, they used the Get Excited that they top decked on turn 4. So it's really unlikely this Katarina gets blocked. It is extremely unlikely. And of course she goes through, and they play Reggie, because the reason they play Reggie here is because they're kind of paralyzed. If they pass, we just pass back and their position just crumbles. So they decide to go Reggie. We can of course just replay Katarina, kill the Reggie with the Blade's Edge, and attack. So they use the Reggie to deflect the Blade's Edge from the Aphelios. They block with this. Of course, we again attack with this because it's going to get pulled out of the way anyways. The damage is hitting face. So here we go. We got a Katarina in hand. And next turn, they open up with another Crescendum. They high roll this time into a 3-1. So this time, we go Katarina to, generate a blocker, or at least kill the Blade's Edge, or use the Blade's Edge to kill the 3-1. They respond with the Reggie spell, and here we are with a very interesting position. Is we decide to use the Sentry not on the Winding Light turn, which is a very interesting idea here. The reason is we kept the Sentry, and we kind of got mid-value out of it, right? We didn't get incredible value out of the Sentry, but the reason here is we want to bulk next turn. We want to level the Ravenbloom, and if we were to not play Sentry here, we would, of course, take 3 damage. But more importantly than the 3 damage is we would be forced to, randomly use maybe a Blade's Edge or something to get the Tibulk, or maybe even worse, just not have a Tibulk on next turn. So we use this for kind of low value for 3 HP. Like, we're going to get a lot more than 3 HP if we use it on Winding Light turn. So we use it for kind of low value with the intention of Tibulk. And since we have leveled Katarina in hand, Tibulk is, of course, itself going to crash through for a lot of damage, and then the Katarina can mop up. So we're really looking towards killing the opponent in 2 turns here. Turn 1 with the Tibulk, turn 2 with the double Katarina rally. And if they have no get excited for the Katarina, they really do look dead. So the Sentry comes down here. It's a very interesting Sentry. They respond, of course, with the Calibrum. We kind of walked into the Calibrum with this, but we kind of already decided that we were trying to do a Tibulk. Tibulk comes down, and the opponent responds with Sump Treasure, discarding second Winding Light, which is very interesting. It's also quite telling about their hand, because they feel that for some reason or another, they have the ability to kill us still, because of course, if they didn't have any like gas in this hand, they would not be discarding Winding Light, and they'd be trying to like play towards the Winding Light. But in this case, they decided to pitch the second Winding Light. Maybe they got a third Winding Light, maybe they got something else to kill us, but they feel like they still have gas because they're discarding Winding Light in a 4-card hand with the Sump Treasure. So they go here, and they reveal the intention of this Sump Treasure play, which was Pale Block. They decided that they were going to play the long game with the Aphelios on the board and kind of use the Aphelios value to kind of win a longer game, and end up like not getting one shot by this Tibulk hitting them in the face and taking them to 8 health. So double Pale and block. I don't think this was necessarily a very accurate line from the opponent, but with the double Pale hand, there's really not a lot they could have done. Here they decide to discard the Gravitum with the Sump Treasure on first action, which is very smart because Gravitum on their Aphelios is 3 out of 4 and the Gravitum's getting discarded. This was going to hit us, or not going to hit us. The Gravitum was not going to hit us, right? We're not going to play a unit into a 3 out of 4 Aphelios with the Gravitum. We're going to make them, at very minimum, waste a weapon for the turn. So they wait until they play 2 cards and then play something. But like, more realistically, we're just playing this Eye of Nagakoboros to block and simply stranding them on a 3 out of 4 Aphelios. So it's very smart that they discard the Aphelios weapon, and then they go ahead and play a 1-drop. Here, we don't really want to get passed back because it actually isn't a great position when we get passed back, so we go ahead and draw with the intention of Eye of Nagakoboros on the attack, which is what happens. They defend their Aphelios with a Mystic Shot, and now we really know they have no burn. Like, we knew they didn't have burn in their Mulligan. They top decked to get excited, and then now they have top decked a Mystic Shot. So their potential of burn, I would say, I would be comfortable going to 3 health here because we are. They don't have any more burn left. I would be comfortable, or not 3. I would be comfortable going to 4. They have a very, very limited burn supply remaining. So we have a lot of mana left, but of course we're not going to play a Pool Shark in this position because you can see I'm going to go in for Make It Rain and miss the Aphelios. Unfortunately, it would have made things very easy if we'd hit the Aphelios. But I don't want to give them that level of Aphelios weapon on round start, so we're not going to play the Pool Shark just yet. Start first action Pool Shark, make them compromise on a weak Gravitum. It's very important here that we do actually play something, because if we pass this, we're not really like. We have a Tibulk out. Like, we have insane pressure on the board. This Aphelios also is not living very long. We have Flock, we've got Disintegrate. This Aphelios is not going to live. So all I want is to not get my Katarina stunned. They don't know I have this other Katarina, so we're gonna eat the Gravitum. They go Gravitum here, and we go Zap Sprayfin, with the intention, of course, of Zap Sprayfin hits them for 3, Katarina comes in, Zap Sprayfin hits them for 3 again, Blade's Edge goes face, and they're looking insanely dead. These people do not look alive. They decide to go for a Trifecta. You can kind of see the animation here. The screenshot was a bit weird. Trifecta into Meteor Shower. And now, it's another puzzle of lethal this time, of how do we kill him? It's not like lethal this turn, but it's like you set up lethal for the next turn. And in this case, we're going to start with Pool Shark, Flock the blocker, and then in this case, my intention was Pool Shark, attack, into Flock the Aphelios if he blocks, into Katarina attack. I forgot to attack the Pool Shark, which was very tilting. And we just played the Katarina cold, attacked, and they took all the damage, which is, I don't think that was the right line, but they just went for it. We take them to 4. Next turn, they play the 9-drop, and we of course have lethal. You will notice that this Blade's Edge in hand, you will notice. We're delivering lethal here with a TF and a Blade's Edge. You will notice this Blade's Edge that we did not use on turn 2, turn 3. We did not use it in the real game. And of course, it's delivering lethal here. If we didn't have lethal, if for instance they block with the Aphelios and play a bit more accurately, this Blade's Edge is actually saving our life even still. If we're going Blade's Edge to Disintegrate and saving our life here. this Blade's Edge is insanely important, and of course, you recognize that the Blade's Edge, the value appreciated throughout the game, whereas something like that Katarina, if we have an extra copy of Katarina, her value is not going to appreciate in the game the same way. So saving that Blade's Edge really did like save the game on turn 3, and that's a line that like many players will miss, and I feel like that's a pretty interesting game. There's multiple interesting points about that. So there we are. The game is won, and so is the video. Hopefully that wasn't too long. If you're looking for more banger LOR content, I don't know where you would find any. Let me know if you find it. Thank you.